Hi, I'm Doran Ellen Beldotan. In Hebrew we say, Yeshuat Hashem keheref ha'ayin, which means the salvation of God comes in the blink of an eye. Just as I was really discouraged in thinking that the American people and the world in general don't have what it takes to be able to bring about a revolution, I found a video. It's called Debtors Revolt Begins Now by a really cool looking lady who goes by the name of Rockerchick. When I found the video yesterday, it had about 145,000 hits on it. Today I see it's up to about 167,000, and that's very heartening. I'm going to provide a link to that video. It's a really good one. Making videos isn't enough. We have to do something. In fact, making videos can be a distraction from the actions that we have to take. One of the questions that I received, a comment that I received to my video, is this hell or revolution, was, okay, we have to fight what you call the cult of money. How do we go about doing that? We anarchists have been telling you how to do that, well, really since the time of the ancient Greeks. Most recently since the time of William Godwin wrote a book about that in 1793. And if you would have taken his sage advice at the time about going up against the government, you would have been in a position in which you were using an ill-aimed musket and the government was using an ill-aimed musket, and you had some kind of a chance. Right now, because you neglected things and you let things get this far, things are going to be far more difficult. Far more difficult. But I don't believe in impossible. Let me say at the outset that I wrote a paper years ago, I don't know, probably almost 10 years ago, called Two Classes of Reprehensible People. And the first class of reprehensible people that I discussed was the government and the elite. The second class of reprehensible people that I discussed, who I considered the more reprehensible of the two, are we the people who allow this to go on. And I'm not going to mollycoddle you, and I'm not going to talk to you in terms to flatter you. I'm going to tell you straight out that the reason that the situation is such as it is because you allowed it to get there. You didn't fight back. You didn't revolt against injustice until it interfered with your partying and your drinking schedule. And so long as it was happening to little brown people on the other side of the world, it was basically okay with you. But when they had the balls to start picking on white Christian folks, then all of a sudden your panties get all into a knot about it. So own your moral position, your real moral standing. Don't have any illusions about who you are, and understand this is because of you. No power was ever arrogated that wasn't first abrogated. Remember that. And sometimes I get frankly so disgusted that I say to myself, you know what, Dorian, let them all go to hell in a handbag, because that's what they asked for. But the God of Israel keeps saying, no, you can't do that. So I keep trying. If you want to fight the cult of money, and please God, there's still time enough to be able to do it, because it has to be a gradual process. It can't be from one day to the next. You're going to have to displace that with other social structures. Anybody who's done a little bit of farming knows that the pipes and the tubing gets all full of dirt and rocks and other debris, and the only way you can get it out is to introduce a hose into it, and little by little the clear water displaces the dirt and the little rocks and the twigs and whatever it is, and eventually you get yourself a clean pipe. Well, you're going to have to do that with displacing the money cult as well. And since you've neglected it and it's become impacted, it's not going to be an easy process, and you better pray to God that you're given time to do it, because, as I say, it's a process, and you've waited until the 11th hour and 59 minutes, which wasn't smart. The reason why socialism has such a bad rep is because the elite knows that that's your only hope. So just the way they gave Torah a bad rep because they understood that that was your only spiritual and moral hope, now they're giving socialism a bad rep because they know that that's your only economic hope. And they say things like, socialism is really fascism. You see, like the Nazi Party, they called themselves socialists. Well, that's because they also understood that socialism was their worst threat, and they also distorted the terminology. Duh. I'm sorry. I'm pretty disgusted with you all at this point. I really can't have a lot of respect for people who have loved their golden chains the way you have. And really the only reason why I'm making this video is because the God of Israel compels me to. As far as I'm concerned, basically, you can go to hell with yourselves. Socialism is not a bad thing, it's a very good thing. Real socialism, not the way it's portrayed on Fox News, can be understood in a book called For Socialism, which was written by a anarchist martyr by the name of Gustav Landauer. And if you read his book, he'll explain to you what real socialism is. How do we go about gradually displacing the current socioeconomic conditions with more humane socioeconomic conditions? Well, the first thing you do is stop paying your taxes. And you've got to do this en masse because, first of all, there's an extreme risk of doing that to individuals or small numbers of people. You've got to do that in mass enough that they can't put you all in jail. And at the same time, a small number of people doing this aren't going to really have much impact. It has to be en masse. Already in the second decade of the 20th century, Americans were living in apartments, in apartment buildings. That is to say, they were living off the ground in small isolated units. And the family structure was under extreme attack